I had been a trustee of the American Assembly for a number of years, getting ready to step off the board when Richard Fisher became the chairman. And he asked me to stay on to help him work on an idea he had of identifying next generation of leaders, or the ones who ought to be leaders across the country, from private sector, academic world, government world. It was clear that you looked around and if they still had hair, much of it was gray. And so indeed, to go find out what the next generation was thinking, what their interests were. Richard then became president of the Federal Reserve Bank of Dallas. Alan Greenberg required that he step down from American Assembly in that process. So I got seriously engaged to stare over their shoulders. Probably the biggest contribution I made. They were looking for an executive director, and they were looking the usual East Coast locations. And I nominated a bright young assistant professor, UT Austin, named Frank Gavin. And Richard took him for the process. No good deed goes unpunished. I was then forever caught to peer over the shoulder and give advice as next gen evolved. The American Assembly had a long established process by which they would bring people together who were interested in a topic and let them discuss it in small groups and plenary sessions. But always at the end, they had to come to a consensus. And that was an interesting process to engage people, and particularly when they came from different backgrounds. As time has passed, the country has become increasingly polarized. It's increasingly difficult to get thoughtful conversations aimed at reaching a consensus on almost any problem. You have the self-described think tanks. Many are ideologically driven. They have the solution for the problems as they define them. And the very idea that you would reach across boundaries and give up some of your views to try to find a common good for the country is an anathema. It's a sign of weakness, or you don't really care in the process. So I thought it was an important project when it started to begin to identify younger people. I think the need for it has grown substantially over these last few years as we look at how incredibly difficult it is to get government, not just federal, in many cases state and local, to come to try to find common ground in solving critical problems. The nature of our international challenges are more complex, maybe less devastatingly threatening, but more complex to deal with. And there's now a huge economic component that was scarcely a factor during the heart of the Cold War. And when you look domestically, the growing wealth gap, the seemingly unsolvable jobs problem, the declining state of the infrastructure, so critical for the economy, and the burgeoning new issues, global warming, energy, all of those that are new to the plate, pandemic, health epidemics, the ongoing ones of drugs, and the rest. So there are a large number of very large issues in front of the country. And the current processes aren't finding solutions. They're not building broad support to solve them. So I look at this latest assembly as another building block, reaching out a little younger, localizing it in the area for this one, but as a model of how you would expand it later. But primary interest for me, it's at some distance removed from the ongoing antagonisms that are paralyzing our ability to make decisions, move forward. I would hope over time that it will evolve into a dialogue on a great many issues, dialogues on a great many issues, to come up with not just ideas, but proposed solutions that could be introduced into the body politic, move us away from this very dangerous world of gridlock. First, it is a friendly state, notwithstanding what one hears in the political rhetoric from time to time. They greet people easily, they welcome them easily. It's a welcoming environment for new ideas, new jobs, new companies. And so what you want are people who don't already believe they know all the answers, and who hopefully will be willing to both listen and contribute. Getting reactions from people, thoughtful people, to new ideas, new proposals, can help move you along. Often when you already have your absolute solid view of where things ought to go, how they ought to be solved. It's nice every now and again to get a, but what if? And the difference that I hope the climate here will bring, instead of saying, that's stupid, that you get, well, that's interesting, but have you thought about a different